Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to join me this evening. I hope, well, I hope that there's something in here that is of benefit to you. Like, subscribe, share this video to get the word out. I'd come across this and I found it rather interesting with everything that's going on. I thought I'd go ahead and share this because it was of note for me. Does Joe Biden owe $500,000 in back taxes? Republicans say a nonpartisan report indicates the president improperly avoided paying Medicare. Well, the title says Medicare, but when you go into it, we'll find he avoided paying a lot of taxes. I get this article from the Daily Mail. I'm using it as a cited source because it's NewsGuard certified, and it's a partisan uh, news site, generally leaning to the left, as well as being a Democratic kind of slant with a lot of the articles. However, this one really grabbed my attention. Again, because it's based on a nonpartisan, meaning neither left nor right, took a look at it and came up with some interesting conclusions. So, a nonpartisan government report indicating that President Joe Biden could owe as much as $500,000 in back taxes to the IRS reported that he avoided paying for Medicare through a tax code loophole for years. Biden is pushing for a $3.5 trillion bill to fund childcare, education, healthcare by targeting tax fraud and increasing taxes on higher incomes so that the rich pay their fair share. I want to stop for a moment here and I have to ask myself, since he likes to call himself working class Joe, does he really think that all Americans have $13,000 in their bank account? This is coming from a man who's pretty much spent his entire career as a giant grift. Don't know how he keeps getting elected into office, but somehow he's managed it, all the way up to the presidency. And now we get to see some of the underhanded dealings he does, or has done. You have to wonder, when you have a governmental body that is allowed to elect itself raises in spite of the inflation. The inflation rate is 6%. Federal government acknowledges the inflation just this year has gone up 6%. However, Mr. Biden is only going to approve 1.3% increase for Social Security and disability, while claiming he needs to pay his fair share in taxes. A House Ways and Means Committee draft of the bill would end the tax avoidance trick apparently used by Biden, as well as to boost the IRS's auditing budget. However, the report drafted by the Congress Research Services, also known as the CRS, and obtained by thedailymail.com, suggests Biden owes taxes under current laws, according to the congressman who requested the Research Institute take a look into the claim. Um, Daily Mail does have the request in PDF form. You can go ahead and they have you set up. You can go ahead and download it and take a look at it yourself. But I want to go ahead and go a little bit more into this. Joe Biden wants to raise taxes by $2.1 trillion, while claiming the rich need to pay their fair share, said Representative Jim Banks of Indiana, chairman of the Conservative Republican Studies Committee. But in 2017, multimillionaire Joe Biden skirted payroll taxes. Oh, the very taxes that fund Medicare and Obamacare. According to the criteria CRS provided to my office, he owes the IRS and the American people hundreds of thousands of dollars in back taxes. And every American should know about Joe Biden's tax hypocrisy, Banks added. I agree with Banks, because this is really serious. I mean, if it's not a fact of where he collected the payroll taxes and didn't pay them, because that's, again, tax fraud. This is a case where he just didn't claim to make as much money as he did. We'll go on, and as you can, as we'll see, he only claimed $800,000 out of $13 million income. The rest, of course, had been distributed through dividends and distributions that are not taxed under the Obamacare, Medicare, or self employment's 3.8% tax, which is also slightly different. Banks said the report shows Biden improperly used S corporations, the same tax loopholes that the Obama administration tried and failed to close, so that he could substantially lower his Medicare tax on speaking fees and book sales in 2017 and 2018. Again, that particular part is interesting because these are loopholes that the Obama administration were trying to close, which means as vice president, he was fully aware of these loopholes and obviously took advantage of them, at least for 2 years that we know of. Joe Biden and First Lady Joe Biden paid income taxes on the profit, okay? But the strategy let the couple route more than $13 million through their S corp, um, Kelty Carpi Corp, and Galacorpa Corp, and claim less than $800,000 as its income eligible for Medicare tax, avoiding the 3.8% self employment tax as well. They would have to have paid if they had compensated their income accurately, according to the Wall Street Journal, no less. The president isn't specifically named in the CRP report, but it does provide insight to the IRS winning cases, and it goes on. The report lays out several examples where one gentleman, a tax accountant, had only had $200,000, but only claimed $24,000 as his annual income. What Biden is claiming is incredibly more different, of only $800,000 as his salary, but somehow he was able to filter $13 million without having to pay taxes on it. Now, of course, showing he used this money to buy houses, but we'll get into that. The CRT report also details that the president returns are automatically audited for the length of the 4-year presidential term. However, the S corp owned by Biden are inoperative this year, according to the White House, meaning the IRS won't automatically run an audit for them. So you're telling me his S corps that have made him $13 million plus are non-operative? In other words, not a going concern at the moment? I find that really hard to believe and a bit troublesome, as they forced Trump to disassociate himself from the businesses he not only started but owned while he was president. But Joe Biden can just simply say, "Oh, I'm just not doing anything for my business right now," and not have to pay taxes, not have it audited. There's something really fishy there, and it smells like a 3-day-old fish. Biden, who commonly names himself Middle Class Joe. Man, if $13 million in 3 homes is middle class, oh, America is really in trouble. He reportedly argues that the rich need to pay their fair share. And once again, he's not doing it because he is part of the elite. New York Congressman Chris Jacobs, who closely follows the issue, told the New York Post that Biden wants to expand the IRS funding and authority so that they can audit more Americans. Now, I think personally they should take the time to audit more senators and House representatives and anybody that currently works for the government. But of course they won't. They'll leave all of them alone because they have that exemption of working for the government, being part of that upper class. Whereas the common American small business owners, we have to pay our 3.8% tax. But Mr. Biden apparently doesn't. So rules for thee and not for me, right there in your face. And the other thing, to expand the authority of the IRS, This is really scary because, again, we also have him increasing the authority of Capitol Police, which is a police force that is not actually part of the United States, but they're not a militia. Given that the Liberal Tax Policy Centers and the Nonpartisan Congress Research Services both have raised questions about the way that Biden handles his taxes, why doesn't he ask for his own taxes to get audited first? It's funny that I remember Trump had his taxes audited and they made a big deal out of him prepaying his taxes. Biden just flat out avoided paying taxes. Again, what's the difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance? One is legal, unless, of course, you're the president. No wonder he has a bust of Cesar Chavez behind him, a union rep. Biden doesn't really believe in expanding the program in programs like Medicare and Obamacare, Social Security, because he doesn't, because he thought buying a second multi-million-dollar mansion and renting a third was more important than helping fund those laws. Again, so he took the money, bought a second multi-million-dollar home, rents a third one, but he's coming after you, the American citizen, to make sure you pay your fair share of taxes, while he avoids paying taxes altogether. Okay, not altogether, that's a misstatement, but a whole lot less in taxes than he should be paying while he's accusing the American people of not paying taxes. Taxes, of course, is just another form of legal theft, if you ask me, especially when it comes down to payroll taxes. So he not only has avoided paying payroll taxes, but he's also avoided paying self-employment tax. The $3.5 trillion social spending legislation that Biden hopes to pass by only counting the votes of the Democratic members of Congress would end the tax loophole tactics that the president has privately used for many, many years. Okay, I added the second many, but again, we get the idea that he's been exploiting this probably since he was vice president and learned about how to do it in the first place. If the bill is approved and drafted by the House Ways and Means Committee, then it would boost the IRS funding by 80 billion over the next 10 years in order to tackle the ongoing issue of tax avoidance. And again, guaranteed it will not go after the people like, gosh, not only just President Biden, but let's take a look at AOC, who gets a $35,000 ticket to go to an event that, oh my gosh, it's just sickening. We won't even get into the whole dressmaker that she took with her who owes $100,000 in taxes because of tax evasion and avoidance. Well, in her case, again, it's clear out tax avoidance. She owes it. And she also collected $43,000 during this whole COVID thing, during the whole pandemic thing. So for them to turn around and say that they're going to put $80 billion over the next 10 years to enforce the tax laws on you should actually be a matter of great concern to you. Because what the IRS does, in my opinion, is illegal. They take your money without your consent and then spend it. $2.6 trillion in Afghanistan. Here's a $3.5 trillion bill he's got coming up, and we won't even get into some of the other stuff that's in this. It's almost as bad as the $1.9 trillion omnibus package that was passed by the Democrats at the very beginning of when Biden first got into office, the beginning of just this year. 8 months' time, we have spent more money than, wow, it's in the trillions. Inflation is going up, and the government at the same time, while Mr. Biden, again, 1.3, while inflation is going up 1.3 increase for Social Security and disability. Again, we won't even look at Obamacare and Medicare. We're looking at just direct payments from the government for those people who are disabled and unable to work. Shows what type of conditions he wants to keep them in, because they're obviously not middle class. If middle class or working class means you owe three homes, well, two homes that are worth multi-million dollar that are multi-million dollar mansions, and you're renting a third one, and well, there was that $1.8 trillion Iraqi deal that his brother got, etc. Should look into it. The Biden crime family. The tax loopholes of S corps have been used by many for decades, impacting the prominent careers of politicians, such as 2004 Democratic vice presidential nominee Senator John Edwards from North Carolina and former Republican House Speaker Newt Gingrich. Of course, there's a guy I never trusted anyways. The topic of the IRS simply not even have the resources to make sure that all individuals who own S corps report their income before tax accurately is an ongoing debate over politicians and tax law experts. The White House did not immediately respond to DailyMails.com's request for comment, and the Biden campaign previously said that the salaries earned by the Bidens are reasonable and were determined in good faith. My question is, who determined them to be paid out in good faith? We need to get these people out of office. They don't deserve to be there. We need to have term limits on the Senate and House. We need to, as well as state governors, I'm beginning to believe as well. This not just should be something handled on the federal level. I know in my state there is plenty of proof that the corruption goes down even to the city level itself. And it can be easily traced, but again, no one wants to prosecute them because they're part of the elite class. They need to be elected and removed from, or duly removed from office in a non-violent manner, and new people who actually seem to have some. See, and here's where we get the problem with today's election cycle as well, because we go on and there's so much smear campaign thrown that we don't take the time anymore to look at the accomplishments that they have managed to do. Let's take a look at Trump real quick. Now, Trump, he was pretty good bet that he wouldn't be the system status quo. Why is that? Because Trump had already built his legacy and he wanted to add to it. A successful president for a man like that would have been a beautiful ending for his career. Even if he'd run for 8 years, he was doing very well. He would have done everything he could to prevent America from going the way it is. Right now, we've got a president who's telling people to surge the border and just to let them in, while inflation is up, they admit 6%. However, they also say that for the people that are on Social Security and disability, you're only going to get a 1.3% raise this year. I hope you enjoy it. They are, and then you have the FDA as well. And I wish I could find the article. Maybe I will find it and put it up later, where they're suggesting not only using blow darts against the unvaccinated, but those who are unvaccinated should wear a star, much like the Jews did in Germany. Again, and this is from the FDA. This is the government. These are the elite. These are the people who seem to no longer fear the people. We need to remove them from office and find a way to make sure that these people don't get back in, or that the corruption at least is stopped. Because the oligarchy that we have right now, this democratic America, is not the republic that was initially built or that the Constitution maintains. With that, I'm going to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy schedules. I felt I had to get the word out. Please share this video with others who you think might be interested in hearing about what's going on right now with the IRS and the fact that Joe Biden is threatening to use the IRS against you, the American people, as a sledgehammer to get you to pay your fair share as well. Not just tax the rich, but tax you. And part of the reason that Pelosi and Schumer right now are being vague about how they're going to pay back this $3.5 trillion bill that's about to be passed is because October is just a couple weeks away, and that's usually when the IRS solidifies any tax codes or laws. So I expect to get a nice little kick in the back end being self-employed. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, and share this video. And I really do hope that you have yourself a beautiful day.